Welcome to Designing the Best You, a podcast hosted by board-certified holistic health practitioner, functional nutritionist, and autoimmune and trauma survivor, Vennessa McConkey. Vennessa focuses on holistic health, educating and empowering people to take charge of their own fatigue and pain during the in-between moments of life, while confidently owning their own health journey. It's so easy to feel like you're the only one struggling, and boy does Vennessa know. As a wife and mom of 3 young boys, whose body acted as if she had multiple autoimmune diseases because of the childhood trauma she'd endured, she knows exactly what it's like to lose yourself and life. She's here to share how she learned to cope with the many changes diseases brings and the things your doctor doesn't know or tell you. In her practice, Vennessa helps uncover the hidden stressors that are causing your body to be ill and correlates them to your life since birth. She believes in the test don't guess model, as so many health coaches and doctors just guess. Each week, we'll be focusing on the missing piece in the healing process from chronic conditions, typically hidden stressors, which includes past trauma. The mind-body connection is very real. We include conversations on metabolic and individualized nutrition, lifestyle, autoimmune disease, stress reduction, the power of the nervous system, and more. We bring on guests who share their stories of overcoming trauma, managing their chronic conditions naturally, as well as hearing Vennessa's story and tips from top practitioners and experts in the field of holistic health. Get ready to be blown away and start designing the best you.
Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of Designing the Best You, and this is part 2 of my story. And if you haven't heard part 1, y'all, you gotta go back and listen. You do not want to miss out on these episodes of my story. They are going to help you understand who I am and who you are potentially working with. And again, I am here to give the real and the raw stuff. This is going to be one of many episodes going over my story. I think we're looking at 4 episodes scattered. There's going to be a couple in between. Okay. But before we get started, I do want to encourage you that if anything in this episode or any other episode resonates with you, head to the links in the show notes to join our email list and communities. It's so important to stay connected. We're designed for community. And if you find me on social media, I've got links to some freebies and whatnot too. So please, let's dive in. Okay, so back to my story from part 1. Remember the doctor I trusted? I trusted that doctor. He came highly recommended to me, okay? I believed in him. But I also came back to him 2 months later because I was getting worse. Still no period. Just tired, fatigued like crazy. So again, I listened to those in that community of natural doctors and was recommended to the National Institute of Health Sciences, where a naturopath who had just graduated actually took the time to go through my life in every area. This new doctor, now, not knowing she was being driven by my birth mother who was studying to become a naturopath, okay? Again, this will relate later in my story. But she decided that I needed to have a saliva test ran to understand my cortisol levels. Okay, for all of you who are in the functional medicine world, you know that salivary cortisol, those tests are more accurate than blood tests because saliva is more apt to explain the effects of chronic stress and HPA axis function. And it's measured over the course of the day versus a blood sample in the morning where steroids are not free and are bound to various things. Okay, so I personally use salivary and urinary to measure cortisol instead of blood. So anyways, okay, that guy didn't help. Okay, so I decided to keep living the way that I was. Maybe I'll try eating more fatty foods. Because unlike runner foods that I was used to eating, right, those are like non-fat, like they go with the non-fat, low-fat type diet, okay? Maybe try to sleep more, tone down all the activities I was involved in, drink green tea, right? Make sure I probiotics and good estrogen boosting foods, right? So that all seemed to work for a bit. Or maybe I was ignoring what was really going on, okay? But after a year, I approached my mom again and I said, okay, I was hoping that she would guide me. All right, that's what we all do, right? Like go to our parents. And I had the leg up of my mom being a naturopath. I'm like, okay, she could really guide me, right? So I found another general practitioner who claimed that he helps those with adrenal insufficiency. okay, makes sense. I didn't understand what that meant. But when I had my initial visit with him, he immediately said, I need to get blood work done and my cortisol tested. I'm like, I've done this before. And the tests always come back normal. No, thank you. And he's like, blood was different. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I found myself missing work at the hospital the next morning because blood had to get drawn at 8 a.m., hoping this time it would be different. And I'd find something driving what was causing my fatigue and lightheadedness and all the things, right? Okay. Again, I tried to ignore it and then move on with my day. But in the back of my mind, I was wondering, when am I getting these results back? Who's here with me, right? The weight gain for the labs. Oh my God, it stinks, right? You know, you can't make the labs move faster, but you want them, yet you don't want the results. So you keep in the portal, you're in the doctor offices, in this day, back then email was just very at the beginning, but like you're emailing them, you're calling them, you're like, I'll stop by after work. Okay, maybe I'm the only one. So anyways, 2 days later, I get a call from the doctor's office asking if I could come in that afternoon to go over results. And I'm like, I just wanted the results over the phone. Just tell me. I'm a busy engineering supervisor. I don't have time for going in an office and waiting. But I went anyways, and I was anxious as heck. Okay. Y'all, we've been there, right? You're like, I'm sweating. I'm like trying to figure out, okay, how can I stay calm? Like, what are they going to tell me now? Like, what's going on, right? So the doctor comes in and hands me a copy of the results. And I'm like, what am I looking at? And he's like, Vennessa, your cortisol levels are so low. I am shocked you're still alive. I'm like, what does that mean? And he goes, and this is September 2007. And he's like, you have Addison's disease and you've got to be on medication for the rest of your life because your adrenals are shot and they can't produce cortisol anymore. And I'm like, what? I was just so overwhelmed with the information. Okay. And I'm like, I don't want to believe him. No way your body can stop producing something. Now, sorry, this was in September. This was 2007. It was the summer of, okay. And I'm like, no way. Thank you for the information. I want a second opinion. But I didn't even know where to start looking. Okay, now I'm a nerd and I love researching. So I'm like, I'm going to the library, Barnes & Noble, wherever. I think it was both of those that night. And I'm going to find anything I can on Addison's disease. Y'all, I found like 1 or 2 books. So it's a rare disease. I'm like, okay, 1 or 2 books. Okay, it's fine. But I still had a gut feeling like, no way can I have this disease. No way. It just didn't make sense. Like it doesn't. So I went to my mom the next day and she goes, well, you know what? Your father has Addison's disease too. And, your grandma does, his mom. And so, it's genetic. The doctor says you have to be on medications. You have no choice. They've been on medications for a long time. Like, why did you tell me that? Right. But I'm like, this is still odd because one of the books that I saw that was really focused on it said that it wasn't genetic. And I was confused. I was like, they said it's not genetic. My mom says it is. My grandma and my dad have it and I have it. This is weird, but I wanted relief ASAP. Okay. So my parents took me in that weekend because they said I was going to be put on a dose of prednisone, which was such a high dose to get me, quote, back to normal. And I would sleep a lot. Okay, guys, I was putting like 35 milligrams of prednisone at that time in my life. I was 115 pounds. Like that's a lot. And so for the first 24 hours, I slept like, I think it was like 15 hours. Okay. I still woke up tired. Next day, same amount of sleep about. Still woke up tired. I'm like, this can't be right. But my mom confirmed, she's like, sleeping this much the first few days was accurate. And I'm like, okay, I have no choice. I have got to go to work. I've got to get up early on Monday. I can't keep, quote, sleeping, whether I was tired or not, blah, blah, blah. Someone has to pay the bills. So slowly as the days went on, in my head, I'm like, I'm not tired anymore. But a few weeks later, I wasn't gaining any weight like the doctor said I would. But photos of me showed that I was different. I was like all puffy in the face, like super puffy. I was bloated in the belly. I wasn't eating any differently. I still had the same amount of stress and sleep. And my mom said, oh, well, I might have thyroid issues now. Okay, so now we're rolling into like 2008 and I should take a supplement to help. I don't remember what that supplement was, but all I know is the first 2 days I took it, I was like energy overload. I'm like, nope, I am not taking this anymore. I can't be shaking in meetings. I can't be like, blah, 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 like nonstop talking. I can't do that. Okay, I can't. So I was like, nope, not taking it. So how many of you all have done it? Let's just test that out model. That was like a big thing in my family. It was, because, let's just gas it, right? Let's just try a couple things. Yeah, y'all, it really works. And with the test model that conventional medicine does, even naturopaths do, like, here's the thing. If you've ever had those tests done, I know you guys have, is they test and they just make sure you're in that range on the paper. They don't look at the whole body. They don't look how it works together. They just want to get you in that range. Y'all, who created the ranges? That's always my question, right? Who created the ranges? Sick people created those ranges. I'm not that sick, right? So fast forward 5 years, I was still on that same dose of prednisone. Like 5 years old, I was on that dose of prednisone. Crazy. I'm like, I am a healthy person, right? I'd been hospitalized a couple times because I fainted, even though I was on the hydrocortisone or on the prednisone. Okay. So anyways, I was in the process of moving from Chicago to Arizona. Okay. I approached my doctor at the time and said, hey, my doctor that I just transferred to in Arizona. I'm like, hey, can I switch? Like, is there any option? Okay. And they're like, oh, sorry. This is like the doctor as I was moving to Arizona and switching, because it was, as y'all know, like it takes weeks, not months, to find a new doctor, right? Stupid, but whatever. Anyways, I digress. So I approached my doctor at the time and said, hey, is there another option to prednisone? Because like the research I've done shows that long-term prednisone, it's not good. So he's like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, wait, who's the doctor here, right? And so we switched to hydrocortisone and fludrocortisone, also known as Florinef. And in switching, I thought I'd feel better. Nope. The only thing that changed, the puffiness went away. I'm like, this is weird. Okay. So I moved to Arizona and obviously I had to find a new doctor, right? I know, again, so many of you have dealt with this. So I'm like, okay, let me go to an endocrinologist in network, right? Because they specialize in this stuff. Y'all, 8-week wait. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get new medication. And I barely had enough for my general practitioner in Illinois. Like I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I finally got into one in 4 weeks, barely having enough medication. And for this guy to literally, I remember in the room, he walks in and he quickly glances at the paperwork and he looks at me, he goes, I'm sorry, you don't have Addison's disease. I'm like, excuse me? He goes, yeah, your blood work and how you look. He said I was too skinny and have brown spots on my skin that, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't diagnose you and I can't give you medication and I'm sorry. Oh. I'm like, do you think I'm faking this? Do you really think I'm faking this, right? It's like, how do you just look at someone and say like, you don't have something, right? I was so confused. I was stressed out. So I'm like, you know what? I make enough money now. Let me go to the naturopathic way. I'll pay out of pocket, whatever, who cares, right? So good thing in Arizona, naturopaths are licensed to prescribe medications. So I was able to get in pretty quickly. And I was with that one actually for the next 10 years. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I didn't know this until 10 years later, but my mom had made a call to her and made sure she was specifically treating me for Addison's disease. Okay. Again, there's a reason I'm making this statement. Okay. And it's very true. Okay. Every year though, we ran tests which I liked because of my test don't guess model, right? But we ran everything from genetic tests to detoxification, to thyroid, to CMP panels, to poop tests. I mean, oh my gosh, like we must have ran like 30 tests every year. And we just keep adding more and more supplements and just to put me back in range on those lab papers, right? But was I feeling better? I think in my head, I had hopes I was feeling better, like we all do, right? So 2015, I became pregnant with our first son. Now, remember that doctor, if you listen back on the first episode, that told me I couldn't have kids? Yeah. So I got pregnant. Imagine that. I took myself completely off hydrocortisone and Florinef because I wanted nothing new in that baby's body that wasn't necessary. Okay. I know a lot of moms out there feel that way. Please don't. This is not a podcast where I say, do what I do, right? Okay. This is something I chose to do and I took that risk. Okay. That was on me. But guess what? The pregnancy was actually great. Labor went great, as well as labor could be. The only complications were last minute. I requested an epidural. My blood pressure dropped. He was cord around the neck and I was twisted. I wasn't twisted, maybe in my mind, but he was twisted. And so forceps were used. Definitely not fun, by the way. So anyways, a month after he was born, I put myself back on the hydrocortisone. Okay. Why? No idea. I thought it was the right thing to do. He was a great baby. Rarely any issues. So fast forward another year, I was pregnant again with our second child. Anyone like not sure how this happens? Anyways, yes, I know how it happens getting pregnant. Okay. We won't go into that on any of these episodes. But anyways, so this time I only reduced my hydrocortisone to a very low dose. Again, no idea. I was just playing the guessing game. Okay. Like I know so many of us out there do. No complications, natural birth. But here's the thing. The kid wouldn't stop crying. Rough sleeper, barely ate. Ended up having so many food issues. I had to stop breastfeeding because I dried up and I had to home make his formula because he gets sick with every natural clean formula out there. Insane. Okay. Absolutely insane. Now, I can't remember what it was, but my naturopath, only 4 months after he was born, needed a full thyroid panel. Okay. Now, at this point, food was an issue for me too. Okay. We had done food intolerance tests and found I struggle with eggs, dairy, gluten, so many fruits and sugars. And I was like, oh my goodness, what do I eat? Okay. Y'all, how many of y'all out there? Okay. You're like, I was just told I'm autoimmune, and now at least they have the autoimmune protocol. But it's like, what do I eat? What can I eat? Oh my gosh, what can I eat? I legitimately, okay, I used to have smoothies, eggs, toast, oatmeal, cottage cheese. I broke down and freaking cried for days, y'all. And this is when my journey of learning how food truly impacts our body started, and how a health food for one person can be absolutely a health food. And then it can wreak havoc, that same food, on another person. Okay. Now, again, back when I received this news, this was when gluten-free food was like, ugh, like not good. I mean, I remember gluten-free brownies I made for my husband and I was like, okay, so this is like the only gluten-free thing I can really have. And we're like, oh, gagging, like they were so freaking nasty. Okay. But I was like, I just want something that tastes kind of good. So now we have so many incredible products. If you have an urge for a baked goods, but like a baked product, okay? And you are autoimmune and you can't have certain things. Like I partner with Eat Gangster. Like I actually, I made a fruit pizza with their carob cookie crust. And then I have, if you're looking at the video right now, and I'll link it too, this bag I have here is when I love pancakes or waffles for breakfast. It's vegan, it's gluten-free. It literally has like cassava flour, tiger nut flour, coconut milk powder, coconut flour, baking soda, and salt and cinnamon. I mean, and I was like, okay, let me try this out. And they're freaking good. Okay. So check the links in the show notes. She's on one of my podcast episodes here. So check that out as well to share her story as to why she got in. Anyways, I digress. Back to my story. So I did everything I could to figure out how to incorporate more whole foods into my diet. Now, I wasn't eating junk, y'all. Okay, I'd snack here and there, blah, blah, blah. And I did remove the dairy, the eggs, and all that type of stuff. Yeah, okay, I couldn't have most nuts either. Bummer. Okay, but I always did believe in the whole thing in our society of like treating yourself. Here's the thing. As food is such a beautiful thing, and it's been given to us, and there's so many varieties out there. The problem comes in when we stop eating the variety of foods that is out there and we gravitate towards foods that we really like and or are easy to prepare. Okay. For example, breakfast was my favorite meal. I was having oatmeal mixed with whey protein and or eggs. Maybe I'd put some nut butter on there, some fruit. I'd have over easy eggs that sat on top of Ezekiel bread and avocado, maybe oatmeal pancakes. But do you see what I was doing? I literally had those same things all the time. Okay. All the time. So now I was like, what am I going to do? Right? Oh my God, what am I going to do? Okay. So what have you done in this situation, right? You've received news too that you couldn't do X, Y, or Z anymore. And those pillars on which you stood every single day, right? They're just poof, gone. Okay. So back in my life here, okay, I mean, I basically had 2 kids under the age of 2. That was hard enough. And a husband who worked away from home all day, sleepless nights with the second boy. He had health issues. I was struggling. The first child was super loud and into everything. And now my world that I thought was under control was completely rocked. And I say this because of what I'm going to tell you in part 3 in my story. Part 3 is what, oh my gosh, it's what really rocked my world. And try not to cry here. But it made me understand why my body was going completely wacko. And I will tell you that in part 3, we did more testing because I was so incredibly fatigued. More than like the normal mom, like postpartum, I was overly depressed, again, more than the normal mom postpartum stuff. And something just, it wasn't right. Okay. It wasn't right. And I want you guys to continue to think about like your gut feelings. Like your doctor doesn't live in your body every day. If you feel like something is wrong, you got to take charge or find someone who is really going to listen to you and be like, guys, here's the thing is symptoms, unfortunately, they're common, but they are not normal. You should not be fatigued all the time. You should not be depressed all the time. You shouldn't feel like you're going to faint all the time. You shouldn't have chronic pain all the time. You shouldn't have these issues. You shouldn't be able to not lose weight all the time. You shouldn't wake up and be like, oh my gosh, like you dread the day. You shouldn't have a lack of motivation every single freaking day. It's not about now is it like, oh, I'm in the right job, I'm in the right industry, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that might be a small part of it. If y'all have been following me for a while and I was doing career coaching, it's a small part of it. But y'all, if you're literally feeling like that every single freaking day, there is something else that's deeper going on. Okay, remember, I've got a background in engineering and I literally went to school and classes for root cause analysis. There's something deeper. Y'all gotta love that I keep you hanging on, huh? I do this not just to like keep you guys listening, but at the same time, there's so many layers of my story. I don't want you to be overwhelmed. And I also want you to understand how complex health can get if we don't focus on ourselves. Let me say that again. I don't want you to be overwhelmed, but I want you to understand how complex health can get if we don't focus on ourselves. And I'm speaking to those busy professionals and those moms. We tend to push ourselves aside in order to make a company or a business thrive or to raise these tiny, crazy, lovable, insane humans. Okay? So I'm not going to say anymore. Okay? Go listen to part 3 and make sure you share this episode with anyone that you know that can relate. Okay? And if you need more clarity and you want to figure out, what is my body telling me? Or I need someone to review my labs, or heck, I want real labs run and I want them correlated with my health history, then I encourage you to get on a call with me so I can help you not spend all the time and energy and money that I have for the past freaking 15 years. Okay? And let's get things right. Let's teach you how to take control of your own health and the in-between moments. Okay? It's not just the times we go to the doctor and whatnot. Okay? So the link to that call is in the show notes. Don't wait. And until next time, y'all, let's keep uncovering the root causes of your symptoms and designing the best you that this world needs.
Oh my goodness, what another amazing episode. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week on Designing the Best You. Make sure to visit our websites listed in the show notes where you can subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, any other feed so you'll never miss a show. And hey, while you're at it, if you found value in the show, we would appreciate a rating on iTunes. Go ahead, screenshot this episode, tag us, and share on your favorite social media platforms so others can find us too and get the help that they need. If you want to learn more, make sure you check out the show notes where you can find links to our pages, as well as the opportunity to sign up for a free call with Vennessa. We cannot wait to see you on the inside. And remember, keep on designing the best you from the inside out.